Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. It's another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. It's Monday. Thank you for being here. Truly appreciate it. Again, I do these Freight Broker Bootcamp Lives every Monday, and today we're going to be doing another live Q&A. So if you have questions about Freight Broker startup or Freight Broker sales or marketing or scaling or anything to do with starting or growing a successful freight broker, that's why I'm here. All right. So this is your opportunity. Hold your questions until I say go. We're going to do some shout outs. When you first come into the feed here, do me a huge favor. Hit me up with your name and the city and state. I'll do some quick shout outs. And then from there, we'll jump into Q&A. Okay. So that's where we're at. Appreciate you guys being here. We've got, and of course, I'm going to need my handy dandy reading glasses because the font is so freaking small. But we've got some people joining us. Thank you, Corey Buchan from Billings, Montana. As always, welcome, Corey. Hope business is doing well. I'm sure that by now, maybe you're getting some glimpses of spring out there in Montana, but it might be a little early for you. So again, for those of you that are joining the feed, hit me up in the city and state. Hit me up in the comments with your name and the city and state you're logging in from, and I'll do some quick shout outs before we start the live Q&A. Okay? My backlight seems a little bit bright, so let's check that. Nope, that seems a little dark, right? There, this is a little better. That's bright. I got a handy dandy app that attaches to my lighting. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. All right. So without further ado, let's do some shout outs. We've got Joe from Jersey City. We got Simon from Charleston, DC. Oh, all right. Simon, Charleston. Okay, got it. All right, cool. We've got Dave from Las Vegas. We've got Simon from South Carolina. We've got Shaka Robinson. Haven't seen you in a while in these lives. Hope Mills, North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. We got somebody who didn't add their name from Jersey. We've got Shane from Utah. Welcome, Shane. As always, thanks for joining. Jasmeet from Sacramento. So we got people from all over. We got California. We got the East Coast. We got the West Coast. We got the Southern. I'm sure we'll end up with a bunch of Texas guys and gals in here because we always do. So again, welcome to this live. While we're here, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dennis Brown. Been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. Been very, very fortunate. Built 4 multi-million-dollar companies in 4 different industries. One of those companies was a freight brokerage. Started that company in 2003, did over $200 million in sales, sold that company, right? And then along the way, I started a program called Freight Broker Bootcamp, which is a startup freight broker and freight agent online self-paced training program. Since then, we've put over 10,000 students through that program. And if you guys are curious about this, some of you are already probably students of the program or current or past. Some of you are probably brand new to the stream and have never seen me or heard me or even know who the hell I am. But ultimately, that's what I'm here. That's why I'm here. And that's why you're here. So today we're going to do a Q&A. Hold your questions because we're going to do a few more shout outs. We got Humphrey from Dallas, Texas. Yes, Shaka Robinson, utilizing the skills you gave me is keeping me very busy. Love it. Glad to hear business is doing well. That's amazing. Amazing. Love it. Okay, so we're going to give it another minute or two for people to get live, and then we're going to jump into Q&A. Again, hold your questions for now, and we'll get this show on the road. So I'm going to try to limit this to about a half an hour, 30 to 40 minutes. I'm sure you guys have a ton of stuff on your to-do list. I have a ton of stuff on my to-do list. I just got back from out of town. I was out of town for like 4 days, 3 or 4 days of every year. For those of you who don't know me, I wrestled in college at the University of Buffalo, lifelong wrestler and wrestling fan. The Division I Nationals for wrestling, the NCAA, was in Cleveland this year. So it's only a 3-hour drive. So we go every year, but my friends and I met down there in Cleveland and we had a blast, but we were gone. We left Wednesday and got home yesterday. So it's a little bit of a little mini vacation that I do with my buddies every year. So it's fun, but I'm back now, getting back in the saddle. And this is top of my list every Monday. So what do we got? All right, cool. Robert, thank you so much for the kind words. Klamath Falls. Where's that? Where's Klamath Falls? Curious. All right. Trip was great, Shane. Trip was great. We had a lot of fun. I'm a little tired, but because we were up late every night and just having fun and with the crew that I was with. So yeah, I was a little bit tired, but I'm catching up. I'm catching up. Oregon. Okay, that makes sense. Got it, Robert. Perfect. All right, guys, listen. Here I am, balls in your court. What questions do you have about maybe your freight broker bond, or you're filing your application, or maybe it's about your home office or setting up, or technology like TMSs or CRMs, or hit me up in the comments with whatever questions you guys have. I'll do my absolute best to try to answer those questions. And if I don't have the answers, I'm going to try to point you in the right direction. Okay. So cool. All right, let's check it out. With the current market fuel conditions, can you offer advice for adjusting our rates correctly? Okay. So here's what's happening, guys. If you haven't heard, which I'd be shocked, there's some turmoil in the world that is causing oil prices to spike. We were at very low prices. Now we're at pretty high prices. And so that's going to change the price of diesel fuel. And so oil is a big variable. It's one of that and interest rates are probably the two biggest variables when it comes to, economics, right? It has an impact on economics. So ultimately, to get to your point, as fuel goes up, right, it's going to cost you more for a truck to move. So if you went from Boston to Chicago and fuel was or if oil was at $60 a barrel versus Boston to Chicago for a van at $100 a barrel, it's going to cost a truck more to run from Boston to Chicago. It just makes sense, right? As oil goes up, diesel goes up, right? Direct proportion typically. So increasing your price. So what's going to happen is you're going to start feeling pressures on those rates. If you had rates established with a shipper, and then you were used to paying this amount, maybe you were making a couple $100 a load, and now as these rates go up, your margins are going to get crushed, right? They're going to get suppressed, condensed. Okay, there's going to be less margin. You might go to $100 or $50, and eventually you've got to increase your rates. So you're going to have some You're going to have some conversations with your customers, letting them know that we're going to have to adjust the rates. If you don't have a line haul plus fuel rate established, if you're doing an all-in rate where you've got a flat rate, whether that be, just a long-term established rate, typically those rates are only good for a week or maybe two. But if you've got some stability in a lane, you keep them as long as you can. But volatility is something that you'll have to discuss with your shipper. So as rates go up, you're going to here's my biggest piece of advice for everybody. Okay. When you start seeing fuel go up, you have to prime the pump. You have to let the shippers know that you're going to hold this rate as long as you can. But if the fuel continues to rise, we're going to have to make some small adjustments on the rate. So you want to let them know that in advance. You want to kind of prime the pump. You want to give them a little bit you want to set some expectations. So what you should have been doing, right after oil started to spike, right? You should have had a conversation with those shippers and let them know, listen, we're going to hold these rates as long as we can. But as the price of oil has doubled at some point, almost doubled. And so, the rates are going to have to adjust. So you want to prime the pump. That's what I call it, right? You want to set that expectation. And then as you move forward, you only want to increase the rate to the amount that you are increasing your cost, unless there's some other variable that you're trying to do. So if you were making 20% and you were making $200 on $1,000 load, just for easy math, you were charging the shipper $1,000, paying the carrier $800, and you were making $200 a load. As your cost increases $100, then you're going to have to try to increase your rate $100. If your cost increases $50, then you want to try to only increase it $50. Because what happens is this. Here's what you have to understand. Volatility creates opportunity. So it creates an opportunity for you to pick up lanes where other people are underperforming, or maybe they're because the rate's going up too much, but it's also cuts both ways. Someone can come in and try to cut your rate. So you have to understand that you don't want to look at this as an opportunity to try to gouge the shippers. You want to look at this as an opportunity to retain them. So you want to move it up the minimum amount. Now, when oil is really volatile, you don't want to give somebody a 30 or 60-day rate, right? You don't want to give them long-term rates. It should be almost day to day, or at least maybe weekly, right? On a lane that it should have to adjust. So those are a couple of strategies. Number one, kind of prime the pump, set some expectations. Number two, shorten the window of when how long those rates are good for. And number three is only increase it incrementally what you're seeing increase in cost. Okay. And so if you do those three things, you'll probably be in pretty good shape. If you got a follow up, let me know. All right. Jay Royce, welcome back. Taking the freight broker path first. Freight agent path. What are some good brokerages with no non-competes that will take on new agents? I'm out of New York City, if that matters. Jay Royce, I don't do job placement for agents, even if they go through my program. So it's not like I have a list of brokerages out there, because the brokerages hiring agents changes all the time, right? And their criteria. And I just don't want to track all that shit, just to be extremely honest with you. It's not that hard to get an agent job, get a partnership with a brokerage, whether you have experience or not. I have an entire training on that, right? The key is you want to focus on smaller brokerages that are maybe doing $1 million or $3 million or $5 million or $10 million, right? Maybe they've been in business a year or 3 or 5 years, right? But they're smaller and they're looking to scale, because you have a much bigger benefit to them, because they don't have the resources to go out and pay an $80,000 salary plus bonus plus benefits, right? They don't want to do that. So if you're doing a straight commission, 50% of what you kill, right? You bring it to the table, you bring the clients to the table, you move the freight, and you guys are doing a 50-50 split. That's a great value proposition for them, and it's an incredible opportunity for you. So you want to start with smaller brokerages, okay? Obviously, you're going to want them to be in business for maybe at least a year or so. The reason being is because you want them to have some credit, right? They've got to build up their carrier credit, so that you have options with more carriers on the load board. So, and predominantly with factoring companies, obviously. So that's, I do have a training that you can go to. If you go to my YouTube channel and search for get hired as a freight agent, you can, on my channel, you can get, there's trainings on there where I talk about how to get hired as an agent with no experience. I've never had anybody that does what I said, follows the system, and didn't get hired. I've never had anybody that actually followed it and did it, right? Where they reached out and maybe talked to 30 or 40 or 50 brokerages over the course of 2 to 4 weeks, trying to reach out and have conversations with them, following my model, that did not get an opportunity as an agent. So if you follow that, I think you'll be in good shape. But starting as an agent, I think, is the best plan if you don't have a lot of brokerage experience, or if you don't have some capital. The reason being is because it's more expensive to start as an agent. You got to file your application. You got to get a broker bond. You got to have, there's just more to it, right? And the way I teach it is this. It's very simple. If you can't make money as a freight agent, you're not going to make money as a freight broker. But you always have the opportunity to pivot from freight agent to freight broker in the future if you choose to do that. So I hope that helps. Oh, good question. Also, do you still post jobs for new agents on the site? I saw you used to. Yeah, we were having a lot of issues with the software, right? Because that was a software I bought, and it was a job board software. We were having a lot of issues with the software. And so it was too buggy, too many problems. So I had to take it down temporarily. Now I'm debating on whether I'm going to purchase another load board software or reset that up. But the first one I had was really, really good, but it was super expensive. It cost me $6,000 a year for that software. It was crazy. The next one was a lot more affordable, but it sucked because it was kind of buggy and I didn't like it. And then we started running into problems, so I had to pull it down. Now I'm evaluating. It's not top of the list, but it is on the list still. My plan is that'll be kind of a temporary down temporarily, and I want to reestablish that. But it was just too much of a hassle, and it was very difficult to try to debug it. So for now, I don't have that job board established anymore, but I think I probably will in the near future. Question: when you have a factoring company, what kind of insurance do they require you to have as a broker? Factoring company, as far as I know, factoring companies do not require you to have insurance. Now, I could be wrong. There may be some factoring companies that require you to have some form of insurance, but I have never heard that from any of my students. So to the best of my knowledge, the factoring companies that I know of, they don't require you to have contingent cargo or general liability or any of that, because it really has nothing to do with that, right? You don't have to have receivables insurance or anything like that. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue for you. I have a customer lane, for example, Nebraska to New Mexico, that seems to be extremely high rates to get the truck to deliver due to lack of freight coming out of New Mexico. Any advice for selling a truck on a dead lane? Well, there's only really a couple of variables, right? You can offer to pay them quicker than normal. You can say, hey, I'll give you a free quick pay with POD. So you can try to leverage that because cash is king. You can try to find a reload for them out of New Mexico, which could be challenging at best. But if you have a reload or you know somebody who has a reload, that could be beneficial and could help. The third is pay them more than the going rate. Okay. I mean, that's really all you've got. There's just not a lot there. When you have a dead lane, here's one of the things you have to understand. A dead lane is when a carrier doesn't want to go from that origin to that destination. Maybe the origin is great. So maybe it's Chicago to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where if there's not a lot of freight coming out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they know they're going to have to deadhead 500, 600, 800 miles or more to get a load, that adds a lot of cost, right? So that's the other thing you can do is you can do the math on where they can get a reload out of and pay them for that extra deadhead miles. Now, your shipper's not going to be happy about that. But here's what you have to understand is that if you're running into that problem of finding carriers that don't want to run to that destination, so is every other broker. So those are a few variables you can use, a few strategies you can use to try to sell it a little bit better. Okay, what are some common financial mistakes for 8 broke brothers make, and how can I avoid them? What? Common financial? Oh, freight broker. Okay. What are some common financial mistakes that freight brokers make, and how can I avoid them? Common financial mistakes. Okay, this is a good one. Good question. I like this. So a couple mistakes that new brokers make when it comes to financing. And the biggest one is commingling funds between your personal and your business. Okay. So you have to have a business banking account and a personal banking account and keep those separate. Do not commingle funds, business and personal. That's a huge one. Okay. Number 2, another big mistake brokers make financially is looking at the gross that's in their account after they've deposited the shipper check. Say there's say this week they deposited $10,000 in checks from their shippers, just a hypothetical for easy math. They look at that whole and they think, okay, that's where I'm at and that's what I can spend. The reality is that's not your money. If the money that you can spend or the profit that you have is just the margin. So don't look at the dollar value. right? Don't look at the total dollar value. You have to track each load and the margin and when that money is due to the carrier, because obviously in most cases, if you deposited 10,000 in checks, you're probably only going to be able to keep 1,000 to 2,000 of that in most cases. The rest of it goes to carriers. So that's another big one, especially for beginners. And then another one is not really setting up a tracking system to understand your cash flow and how that cash flow needs to be managed. Because most companies, here, I'm going to give you an example. Most startups don't go out of business because of a lack of profit. They go out of business because of poor cash flow. What do I mean by that? So let's say, for example, you decide to do business with a shipper and they start paying you in 60 days, right? They pay you in 60 days. Well, you have to pay a carrier in 30 days, okay, or less. So if you have to pay the carrier in 30 days, that means you're coming out of pocket. You're coming out of your investment dollars, or you're coming on your credit card, or you're coming out of your personal to pay that carrier until you get paid by that shipper. So the longer that delta is between when the shipper pays you and when you have to pay the carrier, the more likely you're going to have problems. That's the reason why factoring is such a powerful and popular tool for startups, because if you got to pay the carrier in 30 days and you have the invoice from the shipper, right, you can get paid in 24 to 48 hours. And then the factoring company waits the 30 or 60 days to get paid. And then they pay you the difference minus their fees. So those are a few examples of financial mistakes. I mean, I'm sure there are more, but those are a few that kind of came top of mind. Hope that helps. If you got a follow-up, let me know. What do you think of Tree Frog Logistics? Also watched your video with Ricky Payne and was inspired. I want to get in contact with him. Can you do another video with him, but live? Maybe Ricky and I can do something in the future. He's a really busy guy and we just did it in the last few months. So maybe that's something for later in the year or next year. I probably won't have him back on right away. I have no idea of who Tree Frog Logistics is. Okay. So you got to understand there's 20, 30,000 brokers out there, right? So I can't keep track of every brokerage that's out there. So I'm not really sure. I don't have any personal experience with Tree Frog Logistics. Robert asks, what's a polite way to tell that to the customer without being blunt? Okay, so you're referring to the fuel increase and the price of fuel going up. So what's a polite way to do that? A polite way to do that is just to be very honest, right? Just be very honest. Listen, I want to have an honest conversation with you. I know you're a newer customer and we love working with you, but I know you're aware of what's going on with fuel. So you need to educate. In the last 30 days, fuel has went up X. And so I'm starting to feel that on the truck side, as you can imagine. I'm sure I'm not the only guy that's talking to you about fuel increases. I'm going to try to hold this rate best I can. My goal is not to increase rates for you, but as those rates to the trucks go up, I'm going to have to pass that through to you because that only goes so far. And then I'm going to be losing money. And just like you, I'm in business to make profit. Okay. So I'm just letting you know now that, I'm closely watching it and we're going to keep those rates as long as we can, but just know that the rates are probably going to go up. So we're going to have to have another conversation. Okay. So it's more the tone of how you say something than the words, right? I tell people all the time, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Okay. It's probably a bad example, but I could have a conversation with somebody and call them an asshole and them not be mad at me because it's how I would say it. But someone else might call them that word and ultimately it could start a fight, right? So it's the tone of how you say something, not necessarily just the words, right? So if you show a little bit of empathy, if you try to be transparent with them about what's going on, if you educate them a little bit on why you're asking for a rate increase, typically you're not the only one that's doing that. They may push back and just say, listen, like I said, I'm going to hold this as long as I can. But at some point, this rate is going to have to break. Okay. So hope that helps. Okay, we got the same few guys asking all the questions, but that's okay. What's a normal split on commission for a brokerage that pays a base salary plus commission? Also, what's a fair commission split for one that's solely commission based? So salary plus commission is all over the board. You have companies that are paying minimum wage and a higher commission, and you have people that are paying higher salary and lower commission. I can't give you that number, right? It's all over the board, right? So I can give you the agent side. If you're an independent 1099 agent where you're commission only, typically for a new agent, it's going to be somewhere around the 50%. And then as you get more experience with a higher book, it could go up to maybe 70%. So that means if you have a load that you're billing a shipper 1,000, paying a carrier 800, you got 200 in gross profit margin. You, the agent, would make between 50 and 70% of the margin, which is $100 to $140 on that one load. So you can see how it's pretty easy to start making money if you're doing even just a couple loads a day. All of a sudden, you're making over $1,000 a week, right? So it doesn't take long if you can start running a couple loads a day, which is not a lot of freight. Oh, the whole, let's see, the Delilah's Law. You know, there's so much going on. Let me just take a look at that really quick. Because I did look at it, I reviewed it, but there's so much. Let me just review it really quick. Oh, undocumented immigrants, name after young. Okay, yeah. What do I think about that? Okay, well, here's what I think. I think that drivers need to have English proficiency for sure. Okay? You're driving an 80,000 pound rig. You're driving down public roads. There's a lot of potential hazards, danger, right? Life-threatening, serious danger that can happen. I think you need to be able to speak and read proficiently in English. I just think it makes sense. Okay? Street signs are in English. Everything's in English, right? Because it's our predominant language. So if that ever changes in the future, then maybe that legislation needs to change in the future. But English is our predominant language. So on the other side of it, as far as immigrants being able to get their CDLs, well, if they're legal immigrants and they can meet the language proficiency, my personal opinion, they should be able to drive. But if they're illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants and they use some sort of loophole to get their CDL, like they go get a driver's license in California and then they use that driver's license, even though they're not a citizen, to get a CDL of some sort, well, then that's a problem. Okay. And it's not only a problem there, but the reality is it's already illegal for a company, a business like mine or like a freight brokerage to hire an undocumented immigrant, right? That's why when you hire somebody, they have to fill out an I-9, which is proof of citizenship. So it's already illegal for a company to hire undocumented immigrants, but sometimes there's fraud involved and people don't know. And sometimes companies do know and they turn a blind eye. I think that they need to start penalizing companies more and they need to start enforcing it. If they hire an undocumented immigrant, I think the companies need to start getting fined, right? I just really think that they need to really tighten that up. So, those are just some of my personal opinions. Again, I have nothing against, legal immigrants. I have zero against legal immigrants. Now, undocumented, and English proficiency, I don't think they should have a CDL. So hope that helps. Yeah, where do I find a freight broker agent job? Well, where you find the job is here's what I can tell you. I'm going to give you guys this because you guys are all asking, right? Let me give you this. I want to give you guys a link to a training, which is going to help you with getting hired. Okay. Here you go. Okay, hold on one second. Here's a link to a blog article with a free download, and it also has a video built into it, okay? So I just posted it. Hopefully you guys get it. Yeah, it looks like it posted to Facebook. It looks like it posted to YouTube. I'm not sure. Comments don't post to LinkedIn. Oh yeah, they did. No, it doesn't post to LinkedIn apparently. So if you're on LinkedIn, you can DM me and I'll shoot you that link, or you can just, DM me or shoot me a link. Or if you're already a student and you need that article or you need that training, go to hit up support at freightbrokerbootcamp.com, and then they'll send you the link. Okay. So I hope that helps. Let's see. All right. So it's been about a half an hour. If you guys have any final questions, feel free to hit me up. I'll stick around for a few more minutes. If not, for those if you're kind of sitting on the fence and you're curious about becoming a freight broker, freight agent, how you can do it from home as a work from home type of job or career, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Let me see if I can help you with that to try to prevent you from spelling it all wrong. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee on that course. You can enroll and you'll get instant access to all of the training, all the bonuses, everything. And again, you have a 60-day, unconditional money-back guarantee. If you're not happy for whatever reason, just shoot us an email and we'll refund your money. Okay? So yeah, that's how that would work if you guys are curious about that. Also, if you guys need help getting shippers, I've got good news. A lot of people who, take that first step and go through the program or get trained in another program, or maybe they start their brokerage and they're struggling with getting shippers and getting their first clients. I have a program called my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Now that is a coaching and mentoring program where I work with you personally and take that piece of my brain, transplant it into your head, and I teach you my best freight broker sales strategies, tactics, tools, and the entire system that allowed me to do over $200 million as a freight broker. And it is the fastest way that a new startup broker can go from zero to 7 figures in 12 to 18 months. I'm going to teach you how to get 2 to 4 new shippers per month using the exact sales strategies that I use to grow my brokerage. Okay. So it's not open yet. It's going to be opening very soon. I know I've been saying that, but I promise you, you guys are probably in the next week or so, you're going to get notified that spots are opening up, but if you got to get on the wait list. So sign up for the wait list if you're at that point. If you're just looking for Freight Broker startup training, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Don't sign up for the wait list if you're just looking for startup training, because it's not what we do. If you need specific coaching and mentoring to teach you how to get shippers, maybe you're struggling with your mindset on sales and you have fear of rejection, or maybe you don't understand how to do cold calls, or maybe you don't understand how to overcome objections, or maybe you don't understand how to do the proper follow-up, or maybe you don't understand how to leverage technology in sales. Those are some of the major components of what I teach. And there's a lot in between, right? Had over 1,000 students go through that program. And the rating after they've completed the program, I had them rate the program and it's a 9.2 out of 10. Okay. I would have been happy with a 7, ecstatic with an 8, but we got a 9, right? So we're a 9.2 out of 10 from students that have completed the program. So I think you guys will really enjoy it. It will really help you. And it's designed to help you go from 0 to 7 figures in 12 to 18 months. Okay. That's what the program is designed to do. So yeah, if you get on the wait list, it's going to be opening up very soon. All right. Wink, wink. It's very, very soon. I promise you. Not going to be tomorrow, but it'll probably be within the next week to 10 days. Okay. That you guys are going to get notified. And then what's going to happen is those spots are going to open up. You're going to get all the full details, but if you're not on the wait list, you won't get notified and you won't have an opportunity, right? I typically open this up a few times a year, but it's very, very selective. I keep those groups very, very small because it takes a lot of my time to go through that process. So, and again, it's an 8-week program, right? So we're really getting down into the weeds. We're really digging in on sales. It's not like we're going to do a 1-hour call and then I'm going to shoot you off on your own. This is an intensive sales training and coaching program. So if you guys are serious and you're struggling with sales or getting shippers, you definitely want to get on that list. Okay. So I hope that helps. Tim Quirk, my good friend, past student and local guy from Rochester, just outside of Buffalo, says Sales Accelerator is real deal, but it's important to remember it's all about the work that you put in. There's no magic. That's right. If you come into my program, there's not some one size fits all secret script. There's not some one size fits all secret lead source. There's not some one size fits all anything that works for everybody. Okay. So I can teach you the strategies. I can teach you the system, but I can't do the work for you. You got to do the work, right? You got to, knowledge is potential power, right? You got to put that knowledge to work, right? You got to take action on that. And that's one of the big things, because this program becomes an accountability program as well, because every week you're going to show up for 8 weeks. And, and I'm going to make sure you stay accountable to completing the program and then implementing it. So not only are we teaching you, but I'm helping you to implement that into your business so you can start seeing results. It's not uncommon for students in that program during that 8-week period to come out of it with brand new customers, right? So it's not uncommon at all. Matter of fact, I think someone was commenting on Ricky Payne, and they watched the Ricky Payne video, who is also a Sales Accelerator client. And I think in the first 2 weeks, I think he got 1 or 2 clients in the first 2 weeks, right? So yeah, I mean, it works, but you got to do the work, just like Tim said, okay? So thank you for the kind words, Tim. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Shaka Robinson, thank you so much. That's what you guys don't understand is this. I was very, very fortunate. I was very blessed, and, with some great businesses, and it's been very fruitful for us financially, and we're very, very lucky. But I look at boot camp now. Everybody asks me, like, why are you still doing boot camp? Why are you still doing training? Why are you still doing coaching? Well, there's always a place for the money, right? I've got 2 kids. I got a wife. I got hobbies. I got all that. But the reality is, Freiburger Boot Camp, outside of my kids and the students that thrive from that, are really my legacy, right? I mean, my students are doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year in sales cumulatively. Okay. So guys like Tim Quirk, and guys like, Ricky Payne, and guys like all the students that have come through my programs that are now out there doing it after learning it and doing $500,000 or $1 million or $5 million or $10 million a year. If you add all those up, it's hundreds of millions of dollars a year in sales. And so not only is it having an impact on the economy and the industry, but it's having a huge personal impact on those people, right? You guys have probably checked out some of the success stories from boot camp, from Sales Accelerator. Those are real. Those are real, testimonials. Those are real videos. Those are real stories. And I can't promise you that that's going to happen for every one of you, but here's what I can promise you. If you don't do anything, I promise nothing's going to happen, right? So there's no reward without risk. There's a little bit of risk there to kind of take the dive, take the leap, but I promise you that type of a calculated risk can have huge returns. So thank you guys so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. I'll be back Monday with another Freiburger Bootcamp Live, but if you want to get on that wait list, if you're struggling with sales, or you're ready to start pulling the trigger with sales and you're not sure what's going on, get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/wait list. And you'll be hearing from us soon with all the full details. And we'll see if you're a good fit, and we'll go from there. Have an awesome day, guys. Appreciate it. And I'll see you next Monday on the next Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thanks all.